But I'm delighted to be here. And a couple of points I want to make. My old friend Tam Dael, I think, retired as president of the Scottish Council in the last year. And I'm sorry about that for a number of reasons, but one is because I'm going to mention the 1972 Aviemore Conference of the Scottish Council and Development Industry. And obviously I was a babe in arms at the time in 1972, certainly in short trousers, well maybe not in short trousers, but still at school. But 10 years or so later, when I was an oil economist, I kept writing about that council meeting at Aviemore, because it was generally accredited as being the meeting, the body, the concentration of interest, which gave people the realization, perhaps for the first time, that oil and gas as an industry was going to transform the Scottish economy. I'm looking around this audience, I can see that most people like me were still at school in 1972, but I dare say there might just be one or two people who were at that Aviemore conference. They'll probably say, actually, it was nothing like that. It was snowed off for most of the time, and it was all an image. But nonetheless, it was hugely powerful, even a decade later, in being accredited as the meeting where the Scottish body politic, where the industry, where the councils, where the trade unions, where the community of the realm of Scotland recognized and understood the extent of the industrial opportunity that was beckoning. And I think that sort of thing is probably only possible with a body such as this. Sometimes I refer to the Scottish Council Development Industry as an almost unique organisation. And obviously, by definition, you can't be almost unique. You're either unique or you're not unique. I actually, having spoken to Leslie this morning, believe we can firmly declare that this organisation is unique, that we don't know of any other country that we've come across which has quite this sort of body, which combines the interest groups, the community of the realm of Scotland. The point about it is that this is, as some of you know, I'm very interested in the politics and the economics of comparative advantage. I think comparative advantage, one of the great themes in economics, the things that you do best, better than other people, better than your competitors, better than anywhere else. In a way, this organisation is part of Scotland's comparative advantage, because being able to touch the whole variety of interest groups and themes and people who are concerned and groups in Scotland is a huge advantage. And what I'm going to say in my address today is we have beckoning an industrial opportunity which, in my estimation, is as big as the oil and gas opportunity of 40 years ago in offshore renewable energy. I think the scale and extent of this is only understood by a small section of the population at the present moment, but with the good work of this and other organisations, that opportunity and realisation of the extent of it can be grasped, and through realising the extent of it, then we can make the best of it, the most of it, and get there earliest and firstest with the mostest, and use it to promote and unveil a huge new economic opportunity for Scotland. Now, a year ago when I addressed this council, far be it from not anticipating what was going to happen 22 years ago, I think a year ago only a few people could legitimately claim to have recognised the full extent of the economic downturn which has developed over these last 12 months. Certainly there were storm towns gathering, certainly there were worrying signs, certainly there had been immediate challenges, certainly there were difficulties quite clearly within the structure of the economy, but very, very few people, I think, a year ago could legitimately claim to have anticipated the full extent of the bursting of the asset bubble which has taken place over the last year. And although, as we look, we had the unemployment figures this week in Scotland, and actually in Scotland, in ILO measurement, we're only 3,000 above in unemployment where we were exactly at this time last year. But those of us in this room and those of us who look at these matters understand full well that despite the fact that that is a lot better than many people would have expected, it doesn't disguise the serious underlying trends within even the Scottish unemployment figures. The reduction in manufacturing employment, for example, just to take but one, within our statistics, the serious decline in in female participation in the workforce. The male unemployment rate is virtually unaffected over the last year, but there has been a substantial decline in female participation in the workplace, often now, I suspect, because of the reduction in part-time job opportunities. So within the statistics, there are serious concerns, and there are huge concerns for the future and how things are going to develop. So today, first, I want to talk about how the government in Scotland is responding. I want to explain why all efforts in Scotland, in the UK, in America, worldwide, in my view, must be focused on delivering a substantial fiscal stimulus, a substantial reflation to the economy over the next 2 years. We must, in my view, cushion against the depression, against the major prolonged endemic downturn which is still threatened. And of course, we must, through the smoke of recessionary battle, have a strategy for long-term recovery. And that strategy also I want to discuss with you today. How we build world-class skills and world-class infrastructure in Scotland. How we match these factors to our strengths, to our comparative advantage. How we equip Scotland to generate new high-quality, high-value jobs in the vital knowledge industries, sectors, renewable energy, biotechnology, life sciences, information technology, and indeed the creative industries. Because we mustn't allow, and we must resolve not to let the immediate economic challenge obscure the long-term goal of delivering strong, sustainable economic growth for the benefit of all our people. Now, as I mentioned, I am hugely impressed and interested with the vital role that this Council plays in shaping Scotland's economic history and therefore can play in shaping Scotland's economic future. We're doing a presentation to the Economic Forum, which tries to combine precisely the economic interest groups of Scotland, of which the Scottish Council Development Industry, of course, is a member this week. And we took, because we have in Scotland, within the powers of the Scottish Government, the Scottish Parliament, we have a 6-point recovery plan with 51 separate initiatives. And yes, of course, it's important to have that extent and range of initiatives across the powers that we have in the economy. And each of these 51 initiatives is very important, but sometimes they can only come alive, even for people who know about these things, if you study one in some detail. And Leslie Sawyers was willing and able to present, and she did the courtesy, despite the fact I called her Leslie Quinn for her first introduction, for which I've apologised many, many times. But nonetheless, Leslie Sawyers was able to present the Scottish Business Club initiative, something presented to the government late last year by the Scottish Council Development Industry in conjunction with the other business organisations as something which could be taken forward as part of the recovery programme. And many of you here today will now know and understand the concept behind business clubs, how it worked in Australia, how it allowed the Australian business to build up an expertise in winning contracts from major events, which will stand us in important and good stead in Scotland as the major events unveil over the next few years. And I can't think of any organisation better placed to lead such an initiative than the Scottish Council Development and Industry.